Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Greenlay. Welcome to Tradition's Going Vertical podcast. My co-host, Erik Hendrikson, president of Tradition Mortgage, is with me again, and we have two young guests with us today, two new loan officers for Tradition Mortgage. One of them is Taylor Williamson. The other is Mitch Cowger, and I'd like each one of them to introduce themselves and kind of tell where they're from and how long they've been in the business, and we can go from there. So let's start with Taylor. Taylor, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am 25 years old, born and raised in Edina, Minnesota, so right around here. Went to school 15 minutes away at the University of Minnesota, where I was fortunate enough to play hockey all 4 years there. And then after graduating in 2019 was when the real world hit and had to decide what I wanted to do with my life, and that is how I ended up here at Tradition. So I've been working here for about a year now, and it's been great.
Well, thanks a lot. Welcome aboard here, Taylor. And Mitch, what's your story, Mitch?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Mitch Cowger. I'm from Hutchinson, Minnesota. Graduated there in 2009, and then graduated from Gustavus in 2013. Go Gusties. I then started straight out of college at Wells Fargo in their mortgage department, specifically relocation team. I did processing, closing, underwriting, and then was in sales for 6 years. So got my feet wet in the mortgage industry, and then through coaching hockey in the Edina Hockey Association, had made some connections specifically with Erik, and was able to come on board here at Tradition and further my expertise in the networking side of things, and able to help friends and family, which has been a great breath of fresh air. Thank
you, and welcome aboard, Mitch. Erik, maybe you can start a little bit telling us how the thought process behind getting some of these young guns in here, getting the next generation going.
Sure, thanks, Mike. As we were talking about the other day, it's the winds of change are blowing in our industry, and for those of us that have made a career of this business, it's gone by really fast. We started Tradition Mortgage back in the late 90s, and it seems like you put your head down and you're working in the blink of an eye. It's 23 years later, and you started out as one of the younger people in the industry, and all of a sudden you're 50 plus. So and you kind of look back and you see there has been a lot of changes that have gone on in the industry, both on the regulatory side, product side, all technology side. Certainly it's changed things, but really I feel like we've reached a point in this business where we're really going to see big changes occur, and certainly there's a new generation of home buyer coming into the market, and we've seen that really start to blossom here, kind of coming out of the pandemic. But us, in the leadership roles at Tradition Mortgage, we realize that as much as we think that we're always going to be doing this and everybody's going to want to come and do business with a 50-plus-year-old mortgage banker, that we really need to embrace the change, and we need to get some fresh young blood in here, people with new ideas and new energies, and helping build those younger networks and tap into the first-time homebuyer network and grow that. So we made a pretty intentional commitment back a couple of years ago to try to find good people that can be the future leaders of Tradition Mortgage. Again, as much as we want to think we're going to be around here forever, we want to keep this company going, and we want people that'll take this and go on once us crusty sea dogs are out of the way. So I really couldn't be more excited to have both Mitch and Taylor with us. They bring great skill sets. Taylor, as a female originator too, that's I think a great opportunity to really build that market. I think that female originators have been underrepresented, and we need to change that. And bringing Mitch over is great too, because I still, at 30 years old, I consider him super young, but he's really not a kid. He's been around, and he's got really good experience. So he brings a good mix there, where he does have a younger network that he can tap into, but he does bring some really good experience in the lending business as well. So he's a nice blend there for sure. So we're excited to have them both, and we really, as much as we want to bring them knowledge, we're looking for them to help decipher for us what their generation of homebuyers really finds is important. What do they want? How do they want to be serviced when it comes to mortgages. So we're looking to learn from them as much as they're looking to learn from us, older originators.
As you talk to your friends and even your families and people, like you said, people of your generation, people of your age, are you finding that the service side of it is very important, and Tradition Mortgage does a great job of that, and they've always emphasized that. Are you finding that this newer generation wants more hands-on, more technology, less? I mean, it grew up with technology, so to them it's nothing brand new, of course. But what are you finding, in your opinion, that the people that you're talking to and your clients are really looking for in the realm of getting a loan?
I think from my experience so far, the biggest thing is that they just want knowledge and they want to learn. The one thing about being in the mortgage industry is we aren't taught this in school. And so for the people that Mitch and I are talking to, they have never heard this before. And the biggest thing I say is you don't need to know all the answers, that's my job. And so I think just from what I've seen is keeping it simple, kind of dumbing it down to street level where it's easy for them to grab onto and understand it enough so that they're comfortable and can trust us. That's the biggest thing. And then obviously with that piece about technology, if you can have it on your phone and it can be streamlined through that, the better. It's on them at all times, like it's on us at all times. And as we've learned real quick, this is a 24/7 job. And so being able to send that pre-approval letter or that commitment letter just through the mobile app has been super efficient. And I know that all of the clients our age are really enjoying that piece and have had great feedback, in particular with that mobile app.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things that I run into a lot too is that there is so much information out there, whether it's online or from people that they talk to that might not be correct. Mm-hmm. Just because there is so much information, and even a lot of the guys or gals that I work with that are my age will go to their parents, which their parents don't necessarily know what the mortgage industry is like right now. With people thinking you still need 20% down, and PMI is such a bad thing and it's so expensive, and those are things that we can talk through. That when people come to me, it's usually they're surprised, and a lot of the information that is accurate, and that is what the mortgage industry is these days. So getting people to reach out and talk to them specifically on the phone, and make sure that they're getting the right information. And like Taylor said, the app that we have and the information that we put out through the podcasts and all of our social media is good, valuable information to intake, and it's a great source that we're happy to provide people and make sure they're getting the correct information.
Just kind of building on what both Taylor and Mitch were talking about, it has been interesting for me to observe kind of the interactions with our younger customers, and they are thirsty to understand. Mm-hmm. And they want to kind of understand what they're doing, where maybe in the past people are like, hey, I want to go from point A to point B, just I want to get into the house. But they were, it seems like the younger borrowers, they really want to understand what they're getting into, and it's easy to talk fast and talk over heads when you're just in this business all day long. So to be able to relate that in terms, these are very intelligent people, but they're not mortgage bankers. So you do need to slow down and put it into terms that that can be easily understood. So that's a art form in itself, and Taylor understands that and does a great job with it. But it does, comes down to understanding and then trust. So I do think that it's, I guess, for me, it's reassuring to realize that the younger home buyer, the younger borrower, they really appreciate the relationship and the trust. They want to understand and learn, but they ultimately want to do business with people they trust. So it's not getting totally commoditized where they just push button get mortgage type of thing. They certainly want to understand it, and once there's trust and they're confident that they are getting a good deal, then they want to hit the fast button, right? Then we want to get it on the grease the rails and get that thing closed as quick as we can. And I think that's what we've tried to blend here at Tradition Mortgage, having really, really knowledgeable people that can really break things down, make sure they're structuring their loan correctly, that they're getting the right product and they get a competitive price, but then utilize all the technology technologies available out there to make sure that the process then at that point is really seamless, and mobile apps and being able to upload documents, via your phone, and the click sign at closing. Ultimately, we have all those features that we've worked hard over the last several years to add. So again, for me, I appreciate the fact that as things change, some things don't, and the desire to have trusted people is great. It was interesting. This was a few years back now, but we were trying to understand, social media and how to best market, and I think we figured that out pretty good. But a outfit came in to pitch us on, all the ways that social media can drive your business and how that's so important. And there was kind of a senior gentleman in there making the pitch, and had a young intern that was kind of shadowing, and she was in her early to mid-20s, and kind of made this big pitch, on the digital world. And then, when it got done, I kind of looked at her and I said, well, are you I forget the young lady's name, but I was like, Mary, let's call her. Hey, Mary, do you think you'll buy a house at some point? And she's like, absolutely. I said, well, I'm just curious, all the social media, really at the end of the day, how would you decide which mortgage lender you're going to use when you buy a house? And she said, oh, it's simple. I talked to my parents. I'm like, okay, you guys can leave now. I'm just going to market to my existing group, and I'm going to say, hey, when your children are to that point as young adults and they want to buy a house, we would be honored to work with them again. And it gets back to the relationship. You need to build a relationship, and now us of a certain age in our 50s, when we do have our clients and they have children that are looking to buy houses, that trust factor, we get that opportunity. But again, it's just that now ability to speak their language and relate to them. Generally speaking, you kind of want to work with people in your generation because you just have things in common, interests and other things. So for me, now to be able to say, okay, that's great, would love to work with your family, your children again, but then I also have some wonderful, talented young loan officers that I can match them up with now to work with. So, again, the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's about trust and knowledge, but how you relate that to the people and how you connect with them, that's what's ever evolving, and that's what we're leaning on our next generation of lender here at Tradition Mortgage.
No, you bring up a good point about it being generational, and I know Taylor for sure can speak to that, because her father's a client and she's a client and she's also a loan officer now. So, but no, it's definitely, and I think as the young generation, the older you get, I don't want to say you stop listening to your parents, but you start to formulate your own ideas, and so therefore, that's where, like you said, the trust factor does come in, because now you have to start trusting yourself and you have to start trusting the people you're working with, and that's why it's so. I think it's so important.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. These are independent, smart people. They'll listen to their parents to the extent where if they get a name, they'll have a conversation. Mm-hmm. But if that conversation doesn't resonate or they don't feel comfortable, they're gonna look for other avenues. So we may get an opportunity there, but we still have to be able to connect with them and really convince them that, hey, we are their source that they want to go to. And again, to me, that's where you gotta have the young blood. You gotta have the next generation that can work with these people and build those relationships where someday they're going to refer their kids, back in. It's part of that continuum. And in our industry, I looked at a stat. This was a couple of years ago, and I forget the source, but the average mortgage banker age was like 53. That was a couple of years ago, and so it just showed you there was just this. And I don't blame people for maybe not necessarily focusing on the mortgage banking world coming out of the recession. It took, our industry took it on the chin pretty good, and the housing market was pretty spooky. And I think, the world of commission-based, financial sales is kind of probably scary in general for young people that are just getting going. but we just didn't see that normal influx of younger talent into the industry, and it's one of those things where we've never really caught up with it. So I think there's a really good opportunity for people like Taylor and Mitch that are getting into this business young, that they're really going to establish themselves as the go-to. You're not competing against thousands of other individuals in the mortgage lending world that are your age. So as long as you do a good job with your clients and you establish a solid reputation, there's tremendous opportunity. Regardless of interest rates, there's just, to me, a tremendous opportunity to really build a great network and do a large volume of business.
One thing that does transcend generations is, what do you do once you have established yourself, or even before that, for that matter? And I know Tradition Mortgage really prides itself on what they do in the community, because we talk about servicing the communities that we work and live in. So don't only just work here, we live in these communities, and it's important to do some form of giving back in some form, whether it's charity or different community service or different coaching or mentoring or something along those lines. And I know that both Taylor and Mitch have jumped in both feet with that, because it just seems natural maybe in your generation to do that. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, your own background from, whatever kind of led into what you're doing now. So from your athletics to leading into maybe some of your coaching or mentoring, because it's really interesting, and I like the progression and the way you guys are handling it.
Yeah, I think for me, just growing up as an elite athlete, legacy and culture is everything, and it's naturally what I'm drawn to. If you see it in a place, you want to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. And so for me, growing up in Edina, being a part of that legacy and that culture, moving on to the University of Minnesota and being a part of that winning culture there, I knew without a doubt, even when I didn't know what I wanted to do with my career, that I wanted to be in a place where they had a solid foundation with values, and in addition, were making a difference in the world around them. And when you think about Tradition, that is exactly what we are. I mean, anybody in particular in the hockey world, just because that's Mitch and I can speak on that, we're in that every single day. If you are in the hockey world, you know about Tradition Mortgage or the Tradition companies in general, because of the people that we have involved in that community, but just the marketing and whatnot too. And the best part about it is when people hear, "Oh, you work for Tradition, like you're so lucky." I'm like, yes, I am, because it really is. It's an incredible company with incredible people, and it's all of our leaders and partners that have come before us that have laid that foundation. And so to kind of come behind them and be able to continue that, and hopefully even, try to better that for our company, super exciting. And for me as a coach, as someone that loves to compete, the mortgage industry is perfect, because you have a challenge every day. You're never going to back down from it. You're constantly learning. But most importantly, at the end of the day, you're helping people. And you're helping them get into a home of their dreams, or helping them financially for the future. So in my opinion, they couldn't be a perfect fit for me and kind of how I thrive and what I love to be around. So it's been super cool to see how my athletic career has honestly kind of seamlessly placed me into this position. And, just being a year in, I've learned so much, but there's no doubt in my mind there's infinitely more to learn in the future. So just super excited to see what's in store.
Yeah, Taylor really hit it right on the head. The skills that you need in the mortgage industry to be a good loan officer are some that you can take out into the community and use to give back. And the knowledge that Taylor and I have in the hockey world is why we choose to do that with coaching. Whether it's in the youth association or Taylor in the high school aspect of things, we can use our communication skills and our leadership and our strong base of knowledge in hockey, and also use that in the mortgage industry, where we can build that trust like Erik was talking about, and make sure that people trust us as individuals as well as our knowledge in the mortgage industry, and letting them know that we're getting them into the right product, whether it's X or Y or whatever the product is, we're outlining what all those are, and we're making sure that it's the right product for them. And those can go both in the office here through Tradition, as well as out in the community, and we're using those skills in both aspects.
I'll have to toot both these guys' horn a little bit. I mean, they're great coaches, and it's fun for me to hear about just the job that they do when they're not at the office here. They put their heart and soul into everything. It's kind of the work hard, play hard, and not that coaching is playing. That's work too. But just the feedback that their dedication to their players and just their pride that they take in their team and their fairness and just the way that they really help build the kids that they coach and make them not just better hockey players, but just build their confidence and make them better kids. I mean, ultimately, that's the greatest compliment that you can have. And yes, it's true that we pretty much hire all hockey players. It's not that we necessarily discriminate against other athletes, but it's just the universe that we came from, so it's just where we meet and know our people.
They speak your language.
Yeah, we know them, and that's kind of referrals. It's like Mitch, came through all of our Edina hockey connections. I coached for years and years in Edina with my daughters going up through the program and got to know Taylor and her family, and Taylor played with my oldest daughter Eva for a year, so it's our connections. But what I see in hockey is it's a really unique sport where it does take a tremendous amount of dedication and commitment. You're not born with skates on your feet. I mean, if you want to be a great skater and hockey player, you got to put in a lot of time and energy. So and it's a tough sport. You take it on the chin a fair amount, and you got to be able to bounce back. And that's in the business world too. You can't start doubting yourself. You have to get up every day, and you have to do all the little things that help you be successful. So for me, hockey players have that secret ingredient that to me ultimately leads to success in business, and certainly in mortgage banking. And really our model to get business is not to put billboards up or sponsor arenas or any kind of internet-based lead systems. It's building relationships in the community. So you need people that are willing to get out there and enjoy giving back and being part of the community, because that's a window into who they are, and it all gets back to that building trust. So if you have somebody that's out there working hard with youth hockey and doing a great job, people see that. They're like, hey, if I'm going to choose where to put my dollars, I want to support somebody that is giving back to the community and somebody that I can trust, because I see the way they operate with maybe my kid on the team or somebody I know. They're not out there doing that for the money. They're doing it because they love it and they want to give back in that regard. So for me, if you can bring that same attitude into your work hours, your day job, so to speak, to me, you can't help but be successful. And the success, the money, that's a byproduct of really doing a great job. But you got to get out there, you got to meet people, you got to be involved in the community. That's all part of it, and you got to do that every single day. I say whoever dies with the biggest database wins. Really, build friends, figure out how you can help people. Best way to get people interested in you is to get interested in them. Bring people opportunities, and you'll get opportunities back. And I think that Mitch and Taylor are going to do great in those areas.
As we wrap things up here, just real quick, Erik, you always laugh and joke about it, but it's obviously it's something that you need to do. You always say, be in a ready position, have your knees bent, and you're not stay athletic. You're not talking about running around the lake or playing hockey. You're talking about the mortgage business, because just this past year and a half, 2 years have shown us that. So Taylor's been doing this for about a year, and so she's basically been doing it during a really odd time. I guess you could definitely say that. Of course, Mitch has been in the business a little bit longer, so he's kind of seen a little bit of both sides of it. So what do you think they have to do going forward to be in that ready position? Because I know that you always try and keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on, but how can you do that when things are just so? What would your advice to these young guns be, given everything we've known in the last couple of years?
Sure. To use another sports analogy, beyond staying athletic, be a student of the game. That's what I would recommend. You can't learn enough about it, and if you think that you've learned everything there is about the game, that's when you're at risk of failure. Just like in hockey or everything else, if you feel as though I've learned everything I need to learn as a coach, it's all good. No way. Everything evolves. People evolve. There's always ways to get better. So, what are the trends? What are the technologies? Talking to people, understanding. Just all the different products. It's constant change in this business, and the people that succeed long term are the ones that have energy and they're curious, and they have that desire to continue to get better. So that to me is really the secret sauce. You just have to be a student of the game, and if you do that, you're always going to be on the front end. You're always going to be on the first line power play.
All right, so as just a final word, what for each of you would be your goal, I guess, going forward, 6 months, 1 year? And obviously you're both young, but you're both in different situations, but just kind of give us a quick word on what you think your goal would be in the next 6 to 12 months.
I mean, Erik kind of said it right there. For me, it's just wanting to continue to learn and continue to get my hands on as many files as possible, because when you're doing hands-on work, that's the best way to learn. And as we continue to bring things back to sports, one thing I preach as a coach is, don't play with fear, and, play free, have fun. And so it's the same thing here. You can't be afraid to make that mistake, but the best part about it is you are surrounded by people in this office that are decades in the industry, and so for you to be able to go and knock on the door next door and ask them a question about your situation that you're in, I have found to be super helpful. And so definitely just continuing to utilize the resources that we have within this company is something that I'm really going to focus on continuing to do. Because even just touching base with all the partners of the company, they all have their unique little niche that they have really found to make them successful in this industry. And so for us to now know those things and then kind of create our own special cocktail of what's going to be special for us and our niche is kind of what I'm excited to look, discover for myself in this next year.
Yeah, just like Taylor said, there's so many resources here at Tradition. Recently, we've both been meeting with a lot of the partners and Erik and some other people in the compliance field, and really just learning how each person finds their way and what they've found success in, and continue to build on that and just really find a way that works for us. And there's not necessarily numbers I'm going to throw out on the podcast here, but whether I'm on first power play now or not, I want to be there. So I want to work hard. And like Erik said, it's all coming down to working hard and making sure you develop that trust in the people you work with, and everyone that you work with, make sure they have a positive experience, because when they have a positive experience, they're going to tell someone about it. And, whether they have kids or friends or family, you want to be able to help those people. And, each transaction is a relationship, and we want all of them to be a positive one.
Well, Erik, I think we're going to have to increase the numbers we put on the first power play, because there's going to be a lot of them, and there already are a lot of them. So that couple first power, yeah, we're going to have a lot of first power play units. So that's good. Taylor, Mitch, thank you guys so much for joining us here and sharing what you guys are kind of going through in the early parts of your careers here. And best of luck. And I'm really excited for both of you. So thanks for joining us. And Erik, again, always great to have you alongside here, and we'll do this again. Love chatting to our Tradition companies and our Tradition people.
Yes, thanks, Mike.
Thanks.